Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another edition of the I Bear Witness podcast. I'm Student Minister Randy Muhammad. I'm your host. I'm here in the studios with my co-host, Brother Jeffrey. I'd like to bring him on. Brother Jeffrey, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir. Glad to be on. Honored to be on with you and the people.
All praises due to Allah. We have a beautiful program lined up. I want to bring on my other co-host, Brother Christopher. Brother Christopher, to the show.
Assalamu alaikum. I am on mute.
All right. Yes, sir. So welcome, man. How you feel?
Doing good.
Y'all ready, Brother Jeffrey? How you feel?
I'm ready. I'm excited about our guest we got on. I'm excited to be able to engage our people in such a way.
Yeah.
Bringing it is imperative.
Absolutely. Make sure you switch the sound. Everybody mute your computers. Okay, we're good, Chris?
Mute your mic. Your mic is not muted on StreamYard.
On StreamYard?
Yeah.
So we just getting started. We're gonna get it together. We're gonna get it all right.
That?
Now it's muted.
Can y'all still hear me?
Yep.
No, I mean, is the audience can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. All right, good. Yeah, so bear with us, man. We're getting started, on this podcast. We're going to strive to come before you every week to bring you updated information. This is the I Bear Witness podcast, where we really want to bring on individuals that bear witness to the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, with their lives. We bear witness by how we live. We bear witness by what we've been through. We bear witness by what we're doing. We're going to show the transformative power of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the impact that it is having on our people and the work that the brothers and the sisters are doing. You get a chance to get to know some of the brothers and the sisters, and not only will we be bringing on, believers in the Nation of Islam, but also, some of our partners that we work with and some of the organizations. We want to really bring to everyone, the work of what we're doing here at Muhammad Mosque number 11 and the impact. And we also want to take on issues that are very relevant to the Black community in this city and abroad. So we're excited. Today, we have a very special guest, my brother. I want to bring him on, Brother Mac X, also known as Brother Mac Hudson. So all praises are due to Allah. Brother Mac, welcome to the I Bear Witness podcast show.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, sir. Now, we have a lot to talk about, with my brother. As we was talking earlier, there's so many different things that we can go into, but our relationship goes back over 30 years.
Yes, sir.
Brother Mac is a returning citizen who did 33 years in prison. And our relationship go back really to when he started that prison sentence, as I remember as a young student in the ministry under my minister and mentor, Minister Don Muhammad. I remember that your family had reached out, as one of your cases, you was actually wrongfully convicted. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so as you was fighting and beginning the journey to fight that journey, your family had reached out to the nation, to Minister Don, and he set me up. And I remember going up to see you on Walpole. How old was you when you went upstate?
I was locked up when I was 17. I went upstate when I was 18.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a story in and of itself. As a young man who went to prison and was sent to a maximum security prison at the age of 18, I know there's a lot there that you can share and tell, but that may be a story for another time because we have so much to talk about. But our relationship started. My mic is down.
No, just move it because when you move around, you can hear it moving around. So put it on your lapel.
Okay. Yes, sir. I'll put my
Yeah,
mic
that's
up here.
better.
So so all that time, Brother Mac, I got a chance to know you. I became a chaplain in the DOC in 2006, which really increased our relationship. We started to see each other at least once a week since then. You know, and I think it's important to say too that before 2006, you actually got a chance to come home, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, we don't want to get stuck there, but I think it's important that you was a brother that came home, right, and was free, and then you turned yourself in when they requested you, and you ended up going back to just. I think if we could.
Yeah, so I reversed my case a few times. The second time, um, I was let out. That was January of 2006, when I was actually released for 4.5 months on bail, while the Commonwealth appealed my conviction, appealed the reversal decision that I received down Superior Court. And at that time, I was able to come out for that 4.5 months, and I was doing community work at the time at the Judge Richard L. Banks Community Justice Program with Miss Eva Clark, who hired me as a paralegal over there. But my job kind of expanded quickly over there, and to do other roles that served and benefited the community, and consequently, I was, put in the newspaper a few times behind that work of advocating on behalf of youngsters. But the most profound for me was being able to actually come to the mosque and see Minister Don,
Yes.
and to have him receive me on the outside, and that was a beautiful experience.
Yes, sir.
Consequently, when I had to return, the state prevailed on the appeal, and therefore I was ordered to come return myself back in which I complied.
And that's the important part for me, like, that you complied, right? You was out here free. Had you been, still having a criminal mind or of a criminal mind, like, there's a lot of brothers, would have fled, right? I'm out free, catch me if you can, like the gingerbread man, I'm out of here, But you was out, you had a taste of freedom, and you turned yourself back in, and you went back respectfully and handled your time and continued to fight. And it was during that time, I got to meet you and really get to know you on a deeper level as someone who really educated himself in prison, and you was known as a legal beagle, as a paralegal, a lawyer. You helped a lot of brothers to overturn their cases. You helped a lot of brothers get free, and not only that, but you was fighting to push back against the DOC and some of the unjust practices. You won the lawsuit. You was one of the main ones. You and our brother Derek Tyler, who sued the DOC to ensure that they had the halal meals.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like everything happens for a reason.
Yes, sir.
At the time when I was being sent back in, I was at the status of that particular case where we challenged the non-access to halal religious diet and the access to rugs so that we could be able to make prayer appropriately. It was consequently I was getting ready to be dismissed off that complaint because I was free. And I wasn't therefore impacted by any decision.
Right.
And so as it was, I end up, having to come back in time as the court was getting ready to go forward with the dismissal and trial. So because I came back, I was able to be in position to fight that case, and actually we ended up prevailing and won.
Hold on for a minute. Can y'all see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
My screen just went blank over here.
Oh, it is frozen.
Oh man, come on, man. You kidding me? This thing then just
So what was the overall impact, bro, Mac?
are y'all still on?
What
Yeah.
was the overall
Mhm.
impact, Mac, of that decision, and what were some of the responses to those that were able to benefit from that decision specifically, even touching on the history of why you even had to do that briefly?
So the one thing that a lot of folks don't understand is that the prison went through two experiences, right? First, prior to me coming, then all the mosques that was established within the Department of Correction were Nation of Islam mosques. When they changed the policy, they said that they was no longer going to allow volunteers, and they was going to hire chaplains. Well, the Nation of Islam was shut out of being able to apply for a chaplain experience. And therefore it left us unrepresented in a large way. But there were certain things already established between the nation and the Department of Correction, as Minister Dawn had gave them guidance about what Muslims were required and what have you. And so what our brother minister was referring to, our eventual meeting, was me seeking Minister Dawn's guidance on what that understanding was. Did he talk to them about the halal meals, what was required, and all of which he did, and expressed all those things. And so once I was able to get that in affidavit form from Minister Dawn, it was when I decided to pursue it. And what was happening in around that time was that the meals that we were being provided were more aggressively oppressive. They were straining us. They was deciding they was gonna what constitute Ramadan meals, what didn't. And so at that particular time is when I decided that we needed to do something collectively.
All praises due to Allah that you did. Even myself, being incarcerated myself, was able to benefit from, having a halal meal, which is essential, essential to what we're striving to do, what we, the dietary, the diet that we do have as Muslims. And no matter what, it wasn't something that could actually be taken away, and so that was a beautiful thing, brother. And so I know there's many that benefit and are grateful, and people today incarcerated, benefited as well.
It would have started off with just me and Derek.
Mm.
And then we made the larger argument that it applied to every Muslim within the state facility and correctional. At first, the department was pushing back, saying, no, we're just going to apply it to them too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started down OCCC, filing a bunch of grievances on behalf, and a lot of our Sunni counterpart brothers were filing a lot of grievances to gain access, and they eventually decided that they would not win a subsequent decision, so they allowed access throughout the whole Department of Correction.
All praise is due to Allah.
All praise it.
So I haven't known you as long as the minister, but we do have a history since you came home. And one thing I appreciate you, brother, is that since the day you stepped foot, touched down, I already heard about you, but I was able to see your work in action, consistently working, consistently advocating on high levels, and also remaining, with a certain energy at all times. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that about you. And, when a minister's still off at this time, but when he does come back on, I don't know where he wants to go with it, but if there's something you want to share real quick, in the meantime, any of the initiatives you have going on, anything that, go ahead.
If you can hear me,
Yeah, we can
is
still
my
hear
mic
you.
still on?
Mm.
I'm having some technical issues with this computer, so I apologize to our listening audience. But if y'all can hear me, then I just want to continue. I just wanted to share that there's so much, Mac, like we talked about, that we can get into. But suffice it to say, speed up. You did that time. You was able to eventually flip your case and get out, right? one of the things that you was known for, you was activist in prison, not only challenging some of these laws and winning, right? But also establishing programs, cultural events, Kwanzaa, Black History, Savior's Day, Days of Atonement, and always bringing people in from the community. So you was doing a lot of great work, along with also studying law and fighting the law, which eventually you made a connection. There's a lot of noise there, Jeff. What's going on?
So right now, I'm the only one on camera.
All the cameras are down.
Yeah, except for me.
He's not in the way.
Hold on.
Can you mute it?
There we go.
There you go.
I don't know why Jeff is not
A
on.
minute delay.
There you go, Jay.
Good.
Let me see. So the only one that's a problem is me. So all of that led to building a relationship with Prison Legal Services, is what I'm trying to get to. And can you talk a little bit about that and how that relationship evolved and how it ended up now, and what's the relationship now?
So I just want to go back and work my way forward, right?
Go ahead. Yes, sir. Take
so
your
that
time.
we have the actual facts, which is I reversed my case twice. The reason why I'm consequently out here today is because of parole. Parole decided to look at my case more closely as I challenged them to, and realized upon their own admission that something was fundamentally wrong with the identification made against me in this case. Therefore, they end up issuing me parole. My case today is still ongoing as I'm trying to actually, get some resolve on that. So that's the first and foremost. The second thing is that there was a conscious movement, a deliberate, intentional movement on our part that began down Old Colony Correctional Center. And that was a group of us that came together and decided to actually take the African Heritage Coalition and make the program perform in the manner in which it was built to do. And that came at a period of time where a lot of folks really didn't understand, but it was really the results of the John Gagan and the mini commission studies that came out of it that said, hey, you have to stop warehousing these folks and stop, and giving them their entitlements, and out of that idleness and stop the idleness within the prisons. So out of that came our specific push to get programs that we once had initially when I first came in, and to get them back running in the way that they were. And so that collaboration, we went through to almost every community inside the prison because we were well known.
Right.
That was myself, Darrell Jones, Fuquan, Russell, at the time Justice Muhammad. All of these brothers decided to come together, and we rebranded the African Heritage Coalition and returned it back to its origin to do what it was supposed to do: organize the Black and Brown community, and which it did successfully.
Yes, sir.
And that came, and also at the same time while that was happening, there was a parallel, something that was happening before we made that decision, and that was the result of Darrell Jones losing his son, and he had created a separate movement which was called the Strongest Link, and that actually brought in the community to us, and where we was able to actually engage and talk to them, and then think through some ways in which you was present for that meeting. And people should know, like, historically, that has never happened where our Black community came into the prison, not for an event,
Right.
but just to sit down and meet with us to talk about the ongoing violence and how we could be of help. And so that was the brainchild of what came out of Darrell Jones' mind, and we were all, we were all
Part of it.
supportive of that, right, and part of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it led to productive conversations and what have you, and so we decided to then rebrand the AC, and we sparked those programs and actualized those events, and so since then, what I believe the avocation aspect became from a lot of the pushback that we received, because it was no secret, prison has always been hostile and racial for Black and brown for folks that are inside, right? The problem is that, since the 70s and 60s, the focus hasn't really been on the pushback of that racist policy and agenda, which is exercised in the department. Well, because of the push that we were creating, and all of the only thing we wanted to do was just connect and
Right.
improve ourselves,
Right.
right, and to have our entitlements respected. And as that became such a challenging proposition,
Controversial.
for the department.
It was so controversial, right?
Right. That they at the time, because Deval Patrick was the governor at the time of Massachusetts, there was a sense of feeling among administrators, white administrators, and white officers that somehow, and there was a Black commissioner at the time, Harold Clark, who
Right.
was picked by Deval Patrick to serve as commissioner. There was a sense of somehow our request was seen as a Black empowerment movement, and somehow we was creating a power dynamic as opposed to really advocating for our rights. So that led to a lot of the avocation aspect in which you was talking about.
Yes, sir.
Where we had to fight tickets, we had to fight being singled out, retaliation, and since I've already been on the board of Prison Legal Service, which I served as a liaison to them because of my legal skills and being able to advise them on what was going on in the prison to keep them plugged in. I had a natural relationship based on that avocation.
Yes, sir. Wow, you went real deep, beloved. And like I said, like we talked earlier, there's so much of that history that we can go into. But 100% correct. I was there, and I had an opportunity really to be a part of that and witness it firsthand. The organization of the brothers, from starting with the Strongest Link movement and the community meetings happening in OCCC, and how they busted that up, and I want our listening audience to know that these were brothers that are in prison. Most of them were serving life bids, and what they wanted to do was to be able to be of service to their community, to impact or to offer something to really decrease the violence and the homicides that was going on in the Black community. They wanted to be of service in ways of being mentors to the young people in the streets, and also really changing the culture in prison, where trying to get men to focus not just on recreation, lifting weights and playing basketball, but really on self-improvement. And as these brothers were working to start these self-help programs and self-improvement programs and cultural events, man, we was seeing so much pushback from the DOC, to the point where a lot of these brothers ended up having to get locked up, go to segregation, and then eventually got shipped out to different camps. And it was when they started to ship the brothers out to different camps that the movement just grew, right? Every other place where they send a brother that was a part of that just picked up the baton and kept it going. So you mentioned a lot of strong brothers, of course, Darrell Jones, of course, La Fuquan, who just came home. Of course, you talked about Brother Justice and other brothers that were all a part of the different aspects of that. But, again, I remember in Mac, you out of out of that group, and everyone is a star. But your strength was in the legal battles. You was the legal mind, really. You was the tip of the sword on the legal front. And I wanted to mention that because how long you been out of jail now?
3 years.
My brother been out for 3 years, and uh, within the first year of you coming home, right? You was able to walk the stage at a college. You graduated college, is that correct?
From Emerson.
Graduated from Emerson College after 33 years in prison. He was out less than a year and was able to walk and graduate because of, obviously the classes that you were taking inside while you was in prison. So you're not just, again, these brothers weren't just talking the talk, right? They were actually living it. They were an example of what they were talking about. They were modeling, educating themselves on the law, going and taking college courses. And so by the time he was able to get out of jail, he was able to graduate college. And then I correct me if I'm wrong, but did you end up working, and are you working with Prison Legal Service? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So once I got paroled, I was offered a job by Prison Legal Service to work as part of the Racial Equity and Correction Initiative, which deals with looking at the impact of structural racism on Black and Brown folks who are incarcerated, and trying to find initiatives that will address that or resolves that to address some of those things. And so I was first extended an invitation by the current director of REICI, which is Latoya Whiteside, and then the director of the former director of Prison Legal Service, which was Liz Matos, who then extended me the job offer.
Nice. So coming out of prison to working at a legal at a legal institution, at a law firm, graduating from college, very impressive. Not only that, but you also um, are the founder of Access Mass. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So Access Mass for me was an extension of the work we was doing behind the wall, and really extending it to the community. You know, what Access Mass actually means is that we're trying to access Massachusetts in ways that the Black and Brown community hasn't been able to thus far. I mean, and so with the spirit of that same vibrant organization of the 60s and the 70s, we want to be able to have that level of representation today, which just seems to be lost by a lot of diplomacy that we see being exercised. And so we started creating initiatives to kind of address the racial disparities inside of our communities, one of which is From Liabilities to Contributors, which deals with returning citizens coming home who impacted their communities, in a harmful way, and now are being put in service to contribute their communities, to benefit their communities.
That movement is very strong. I been a part of with you organizing brothers that are returning home from prison, and really guiding them and allowing them to go from being a liability to our community to being an asset. And I've witnessed, several events where, and it's so beautiful to witness the sneaker giveaway, the backpack giveaway. So when school starts, you brothers are out here, giving back, right? Not just backpacks, but brand new sneakers, Adidas, Pumas, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but there was an ice cream truck, for the children, free haircuts, right? A bouncy ball. That was pretty impressive and such a positive thing for our brothers to be involved in. And as I looked at that, man, the brothers, man, they looked like they were really, really happy, man. and proud of themselves. What was that like for you and the other brothers to be out here supporting mothers and children?
For me, it was like everything that I imagined, when I was in and thought about how I could be of service, right? I wanted to get out and serve and benefit, my people. And so this initiative gave us an opportunity to first for me to return from where I'm from, Academy Homes, and start the initiative there among my peer group of brothers who, who was doing it,
Right.
just on the strength of love and just giving back to the hood. And what we realized is that we was rebranding, what it means to give back to the hood,
Right.
in a different way. But I used to always hear Darrell Jones say, that the first place a person has to re-enter is the home, right? Well, the second place is the community at large. And so if you engage them into the community in the ways that they're supposed to, in a productive way, well, then when things get hard, they won't turn against the community.
Right.
They will turn to the community for support and help. And I see that already.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. And so continue to do the great work, man. That's why I'm so happy to have you on and really to tell your story. And I apologize for all of this is a rough, addition, man. We've had all kind of technical difficulties. We're definitely gonna have to get you back, but there's some other present things. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about
Before you go on, there's one more piece because I was able to experience those backpack giveaways.
Go ahead.
And Mac didn't even touch on it, but I mean, it was simultaneously. He had how many giveaways was it at the same time?
6.
6 at the same time, all over Boston.
Right.
And the one that we experienced here in Grove Hall, I mean, you had a line down the street. You had children smiling and happy, parents damn near ready to cry, because of what was being brought to the community. Like that was so powerful and it was so impactful to see. So I can imagine what it was for those that were present.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was powerful, man. I mean, it got to the point, man. We were getting low on sneakers, man, and everybody. We just had more people coming, like people flooding the area. So I can only imagine that that's the way it was at the other locations.
Yes.
And the coordination that went into it, the thought that went into it could actually be seen, and present. It's not just like a backpack giveaway where you're getting a little bag with a couple pencils and some, again, like you said, Brother Minister, all the different sneakers and different things going on. They were braiding hair, they were cutting hair,
fresh haircuts.
We had space where people could relax. The elderly were sitting down enjoying themselves,
and there was food.
Food
fed the community.
We went back to get food several times because of the amount of people that were here in Grove Hall. Yeah, I just want to add on to that part just to bring a little, like, you touched on it, brought life to it, but I mean, that was a lively event, brother. So I thank you for that, man. That I know the community appreciated it, and I know we appreciated it as well to be able to be part of that with you.
Absolutely.
Well, let me just say I appreciate all the brothers and everybody that did participate, because to me, all the accolades really go to them, because they were the ones who were serving the community in the way that they felt the community needed to be served. The one thing about this initiative is that it's left in their hands. It's their community. I'm not over them supervising them, telling them, hey, this has got to be this, you do this. They're doing that themselves.
Right.
They get the format, they understand it, and then they do it in the way that they feel like the most could be given back. And so,
well, you're real humble, beloved, and
right.
And I salute the brothers, and I agree with you. However, leadership is key, right? So you need someone that has the vision and then the leadership and the credibility to really make it happen, man. So again, kudos to you, beloved, because that was your brainchild, and at the end of the day, you made it happen by the grace of Allah, obviously. So, but not only that, I mean, there's so much that this brother is doing, but I want to get to some of the things that's coming up now. One of the things that you've been working on has been this documentary, Mississippi. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you share with us, man, with our listening audience, what is Mississippi. We actually are going to be having a screening here on is it November the what's the
18th.
date? No, November 18th here at Torchlight. We're going to have a screening of this short film Mississippi. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So Mississippi, the reason why I gave it the name Mississippi is to correlate what was happening in Mississippi, first and foremost, right? And with the civil rights struggle. Except in Massachusetts, we have this, you know, covert way of exercising racism. And so I wanted to kind of highlight that, because when you think of institutional confinement, that's not not on the biggest agenda for folks. So a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the wall. And so I wanted to kind of expose through folks' experiences what it's like for Black and brown folks to be incarcerated at a time, but also the rich history of struggle that has really emanated from the pushback of folks who are inside,
Yeah.
right? Which all of which started with just the appointment of the first Black commissioner, Harold Clark. Something that, you know, someone that's most people don't even know, don't even know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Never heard of him, but this
Yeah.
brother was well received in the community, and he was about representing and pushed a lot of the entitlements that's still on the books today. And no matter what generation we've seen come through the facilities, one way or another, all our fights are about trying to access those entitlements, in one form or another.
I want to just take a dig, again, Mississippi. So it's like, we know the racial history of Mississippi and the southern states and the blatant, Jim Crow laws. But, a lot of people think of the North and think of Boston as this progressive, place where you have these liberals, however, we know that there's another side. I mean, it's just like we talk about South Boston, you know, and South Boston, for those, who are up here in Boston, we know that, in the 80s and even up into the 90s, was a place where Black folks really couldn't go without getting into conflict. It was a very racist town. I remember in my lifetime, busing was very real, right? I remember I went to South Boston High School, and I went in elementary school. I went to the Condon, and all of the buses from the inner city that had to go into South Boston, we would have to meet outside of South Boston in front of Columbia Point by the Bayside Expo Center, and all the buses will line up, and we will be surrounded by police to be escorted to go into school. That's how racist it was. And, the parents would be out there, taunting us and calling us racial epithets and whatnot. So, so that place is, if we call it South Boston, it's not even the southern part of Boston, but it's like down south in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that play on Mississippi. But I want to show the clip. I think we have the trailer. So hopefully this will play. Let's see what, let's get into this trailer.
People tried to help me. It wasn't enough.
I was in and out of there for 30 years.
A day before my 20th birthday, I received a first-degree life sentence.
They will let you out every 6 months, knowing you'll be back.
It was chaotic, man. People are bouncing off the walls.
When Walpole was on fire, some of the officers would pay some of the inmates to sabotage.
You're gonna do something that's gonna bring you in here for the rest of your life. I was stuck in trauma.
What was there that I could use to start repairing myself?
Yeah. That's the trailer there. You got some real special people in there, some serious OGs in this community.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about who was that we was looking at.
So Greg Davis was actually one of the strongest advocates in his time when he was incarcerated, which a lot of people don't really know unless you come from his generation, right? Like, but like folks the way that my generation of folks look at me is the way that folks from his generation of incarcerated folks look at Greg.
Yes,
on
sir.
the, on the level of advocation that he was doing behind the wall. And so he talks about that, what happened when John Boone came and took over as commissioner. He was there present. He part of forming a movement that was resisting racial oppression at the time. And also Omar Rahim was also there, who's very well known in the prison system also, a brother that was creating or turning folks around from their mental state of deafness, right? And trying to resurrect them. And so you have brothers who are coming in. But what I think I think three things is very instrumental because, and I just want to add before I say that, Stacy Boredom, who also is a powerhouse
on the women's side.
On the women's side,
that's right.
And and has underwent racial oppression in her, and you hear this through their own stories as they relay those experiences. But I think the three things that I grasp out of it is that not just that they've experienced it, but they talk about the cumulative effect that led them into prison, right? But then also the decision that didn't come from the programs and services being offered in the prison, but really the individual decision that they had to form something to really rehabilitate themselves, and this has been true to my own experience as well as others behind, that came up in my time. We didn't get it through the typical classical, programs that they offer,
right.
but the ones that we created for ourselves, that worked on ourselves.
And you was attacked for creating these programs.
Right. And so, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so when we say create, I just want to, the African Heritage Coalition has been around, it was Black Rights Committee. It's been around since 1972. What we did was those brothers who made those programs, they made it with the design to instill culture in us, right? If you had asked me when I was a kid what was culture, I would have said, man, my pants hanging off my ass and my b-boy hat and my walk, that this was my culture. I didn't understand that was a subculture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they designed this program to put culture back into us, to still us into who we are, right? And so I first entry into the prison, it was still vibrant. You still had that. But that was something that Governor Well really smashed and did away with.
So, I got to say this because you're so right and you're humble, brother. And I appreciate you because you capture the history. And even with this documentary, by bringing Stacy on, by bringing, our brother, Greg Davis, right. And others, like you're paying homage to the OGs, to those who were forerunners, and you're capturing and documenting that history, which is so critical, and so I appreciate the way you do that. And even as you tell the story, AAC has been around and you benefited from it when you came in. The other side of that is, however, that in a lot of places they had shut those programs down, right? And so they weren't active.
No.
And it was you in many places, along with others, of course, Daryl Jones and others, Fuquan, that really took the baton and kept it going.
Replicated those
and
programs.
it replicated and brought it back. Because I firsthand witnessed, coming to being shipped to Sousa Baranowski, which is the maximum security, and they didn't have any programs active at the time. And you was there for a short time and was able to reintroduce a Kwanzaa event through the AAC. I seen when you were shipped to Shirley Medium, and again, the programs weren't really that active, but you were able to come in wherever they shipped you and were able to reproduce and recreate and reactivate those programs and keep it going. So it's really a beautiful history that has to be told. And the great thing about it is that you brothers are out here now. You know what I mean? That's why, man, there's a lot of hope for us because we got so many of our great minds that really sharpen their sword, their intellectual sword, their mind behind the walls, really battling these legal wars and establishing and reestablishing and running programs, and are now out here. And so, one of the great things, another great aspect of what you're doing, brother, is that you're out here and you're really keeping up the pace, right? As far as continuing even with your organization Access Mass and the great work that they're doing, but also you are now spearheading the Ministry of Justice. And so talk a little bit about the Ministry of Justice and what you're doing with that effort.
Well, and I should say that the Ministry of Justice is actually hosting this event.
Right.
So what I love about the Ministry of Justice is that it gives me an opportunity to kind of flex my legal skills and being able to support our brothers and sisters who might have legal questions and what have you, but also to kind of look at what has been happening to us politically and just really like the fact that we don't have meaningful representation.
Right.
And so what it's done allowed me to do is really build among our community folks and try to tap into some of our strongest community folks and bring them together so that we could address some of the things that we are all looking at, right, and realize that it's problematic. But in working in silos, we might be effective to some degree, but not as effective as we can if we come together. And so out of those meetings was born the Black Agenda Coalition, which strives to actually put real meaningful representation that deal with the kind of loss of Black Americans that we've seen from the inner city Boston. Really, there's almost non-existence today. And I want to just qualify that because prior to my going to prison, there was stores all up and down Blue Hill Ave, all across from Roxbury to Mattapan that were Black
That's right.
owned stores.
That's right.
Right. But then there's a history of policy and practice that occurred in the time that when I was in and previously before I was born, that has really culminated into the disenfranchisement and displacement of Blacks moving out to the suburbs, right? And so there's an intentional thing that we all realize is happening, but we're just like standing in the headlight of this
Right.
thing and not doing anything about it. And so I wanted to kind of raise the voice on those particular issues, the impact on
Right.
Black Americans that we see that's really happening, and ordinarily we know that when we say Black, we represent all Black,
Spectrum of
all
the original
spectrum of
people.
Black.
Yeah.
But there is a particular Black in this instance that has been impacted in the way that I'm talking about that needs
Yeah.
to be addressed. And so we are moving to do that. We've had our first event just the 24th of October, which was Bruce built,
The Bruce Bowling building. Yeah.
and it was very highly successful. We had an educational piece to kind of talk about the rich history.
What was the name of that video? So yeah, Max talking about the first event they had, which was beautiful at the Bruce Bowling building. It was a political forum, where we got a chance to hear from some of the candidates for city council, the District 7 seat, and some of the at-large city councilors. But before we got a chance to hear from them, man, the presentation was so powerful. There was a video that shared the rich history of Boston's Black Wall Street.
Yes.
That was powerful. Many of us didn't know that there was a Boston Black Wall Street, and then the presentation on how we have lost a lot of property because of policies emanating from the city government that have disenfranchised our people. So that was so powerful because a lot of times, and there's a talk now about reparations, and that's very important. But when we talk about reparations, people often think about reparations for chattel slavery, which most folks believe ended in 1865 at the end of 1863 at the end of the Civil War, right? Which people put it, that was so long ago. But two things that are true is that slavery was reintroduced after the Civil War under sharecropping, the Jim Crow laws, and convict leasing. And so a lot of the things that we need to be talking about when we're talking about reparations, is not things exclusively from 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago, but there have been things that have been done 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago where blacks, particularly in the city, and if we looked at in every city, I'm pretty sure that there's a similar situation where land has been taken and blacks have been disenfranchised. And so for you to organize that forum to bring again that rich history and to make it a part of the conversation as we're considering going to the polls to vote, I think is just rich.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed to work with a bunch of talented individuals in their own right.
Can you
You know,
share some of the folks that are working with you in the Ministry of Justice and the Black Agenda Coalition in particular?
sure. We've had a number of folks. Like Rachel Rollins was the one that brought that film to our attention. She's one of many
Wow.
folks who was helping us organize this event and participating. Also, Andrea James, who has her own organization, Free Her, um, and uh, very powerful sister. She's
Right.
running for governor. Actually,
Yep.
also very powerful, informative. No nonsense.
That's
You
right.
know, she's about getting to the action. And then we got Donise Watson, also runs her own thing. Very passionate sister about the work. We have Senator Diane, or former Senator Diane Wilkerson,
Hmm.
who is an icon in our community from the previous work she's doing and always raising the alarm of things that we need to pay attention to.
That's right.
Then we had our sister Tanya Anderson,
That's right.
former city councilor Tanya Anderson, who even after she went through this what we call
Trial. Yeah.
selective targeting, right? Had came on and worked with us to kind of organize and make sure that what we wanted to do was clear and concise. We have our brother Wawa, who ran for city councilor in District 7, who also runs Block, who his own organization of
Yes.
political organization.
The
Um,
block. So the block is the Black Local Organizing Committee. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I mean, like, this is so
So
many,
many, so
so
many,
many,
so
so
many. So it's just
so
important, like you naming those names. These are people that we know are very brilliant, have been working for decades in our community, and so to really bring that caliber of people together with that level of intelligence and political know-how, I think is very important. And I want to say to those that are listening, right, that you have an opportunity to be a part of this. A lot of times people ask, what are we doing, and let me say this, right, that we this year we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March, right? And so for one, it was out of the Million Man March that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us the 9 ministries to set up. And so one of those ministries is the ministry of justice. So again, we're still in that line. Also, the minister had told us after the Million Man March that he wanted us to keep the local organizing committees together, right? And so we did that. And actually, the LOC here in Boston it grew to become the block, right? So it was the Black Local Organizing Committee, because as you said, Mac, there's a need to focus specifically on the issues that are affecting Black people here in America. And so, but I want to say a lot of people, when we talk about the Million Man March, they ask, well, what are y'all doing now? Or, you know, what we're doing now. If you want to be a part of something, if you want to add on, then be a part of one of these ministries. If you're interested in what you're hearing Mac talking about, and organizing a Black agenda for Boston, how can folks that are listening, Mac, how can they tap in to be a part of this movement and add on to the work that you're doing in the Ministry of Justice, as well as the Black Agenda Coalition?
Well, yeah, I'm always happy to have all our people come out and support. I think we have to start, or at least have meaningful representation. And I think that there's a great dissatisfaction among us, but there's a lot of division in which we, in our community, that we haven't been able to overcome. And so I offer, in this new representation of a Black Agenda Coalition, is a means and by which we can get over those types of divisiveness and try to focus on the real meaningful issues, so that we can actually have them addressed in a manner that we actually need them. But that happens only with our collectiveness. And so we meet every Thursday,
Yes.
on online, but also in person the first of the month. And depending on what we're dealing with, we might meet more often in person down here at Torchlight.
Would it be fair to say that for folks who want to get involved to join us at that live meeting, because we don't really just share the link out, right?
No.
They should come to that first live meeting, and be present, and then they could tap into the work and continue doing it and joining the Zooms on every other week.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's a war going on out here, right?
Yes, sir.
And I think most of us feel that, especially as we talk about the SNAP benefits and everything that's happening and all that. But the reality of it is that there's been a war on us,
That's right.
Black people. And I think that's not a secret to most of us.
Right.
And so at some point, we got to stop being able to complain about it and actually do something about it. And so if you're in the mean or the mind to do something about it, well, come on and join on.
Absolutely.
Let's bring your ideas, your plan. They'll be heard and respected, and we'll try to put those things together and try to forge a way so that we can have a way for our children to maintain and live in Boston in the way that they're supposed to.
Absolutely, brother. And as you said, man, a lot of people are concerned about the policies and what's going on, but the truth of the matter is that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been warning us about this, right? And he's actually given us the vehicles on how we can become self-sufficient and begin to be independent, so that we're not as affected by what the government is doing. So one of those ministries is the Ministry of Agriculture, where we have to really secure some land and start growing and producing our own food. There's a lot of concern now about what's happening with the education, but one of those ministries was the Ministry of Education. We have to come together and build our own schools. And so the solution to a lot of what we see coming down as policies is that we got to come together in unity and realize that government is not going to save us, right? We have to come together and save ourselves. And so, Brother Mac, we could be here talking all day.
Yes.
I didn't want to go too long, and we'll have to bring you back, to unpack a lot of these things. But I just thank you so much for coming on. I know that you're very busy with a lot of the things that you're doing. Again, and I got to say this: a lot of brothers, who've done that much time in jail, out here and just trying to live life, man, and enjoy what they've missed for so long, or even try to catch up. And so a lot of brothers are not really as active in community activism and things of that nature. And it's understandable, but it's very commendable that, even after serving all that much time, you have not missed a beat, and you're out here and you're continuing to do the work, and Allah is blessing you. And I will say, brother, that Allah will continue to bless you, for doing the great work that you're doing, because it's impacting our community in a major way. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
So I know that you're busy with, Access Mass, with the Ministry of Justice, with the Black Agenda Coalition. You work, for prison legal services, and you have several of your own businesses. We won't get into all of that, but a beautiful brother, beautiful mind. Thank you for taking this time to sit with us and really talk about some of the great work that you're doing. The objective is to really get our brothers and sisters who are listening or who would listen to this to be inspired, right? But also to tap in. Come on and join us. Let's do this work. Brother Mac, is there anything before we log off that you would like to share?
Well, I'm just grateful to be a part of this meet today and to be able to speak to the viewers directly and to kind of share some of the things that we got going on. November 15th, we're going to be doing the turkey drive.
That's right.
And that'll be in the 6 locations. Stay tuned. You can tap into accessmass.org to find out the specific locations, but Torchlight will definitely be one.
Absolutely.
And so, but with that, I just wanted to really just remind us that anyone that wants to really, come together and build, I'm very open, and I would love for you to come on and really let's get to the heart of the issues.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, beloved.
Thank
So,
you.
family, until we meet again, hopefully you'll come in and tap in next Saturday, same time. And if you are catching this on YouTube, we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to subscribe, right? If you're watching this on Facebook, we want you to share it because we want to grow our audience. Our intention is to come to you every Saturday and bring you enlightening information and talk about the issues that are affecting us here in Boston and nationally. So continue to tune in. Thank you for listening. With that, I close as we opened up. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
People tried to help me. It wasn't enough.
I was in and out of there for 30 years.
A day before my 20th birthday, I received a first-degree life sentence.
They will let you out every 6 months, knowing you'll be back.
It was chaotic, man. People are bouncing off the walls.
When Walpole was on fire, some of the officers would pay some of the inmates to sabotage.
You're going to do something that's going to bring you in here for the rest of your life. I was stuck in trauma.
What was there that I could use to start repairing myself?